right, we'll call our regular meeting of council to order at 6:01 p.m. And just to get us started today, first of all, I'll start out with our land acknowledgement statement. The town of Coalhurst is located in traditional Blackfoot Confederacy territory. We honor the Blackfoot people and their traditional ways of knowing and caring for this land, as well as all Indigenous peoples who have helped shape and continue to strengthen our community. Before we go into the adoption of the agenda, I do want to welcome Sean Patience officially as our Chief Administrative Officer. Today is his first official meeting. And I see that we still have Jeffrey Kaufman on the docket here as consultant to the CAO. Yeah. So that's great too.
It's not the first docket I've been on.
So that's excellent. We're excited to have you and excited that you're still here.
That's good.
Here we go. All right, so with the adoption of the agenda, we did have an amendment that did come through regarding the budget adjustment 11C extraordinary meetings. And so would somebody like to make a motion to adopt the agenda? Yeah, go ahead.
I move to adopt the agenda.
Great, just give me 1 second here. Because that right now. Okay, so I'm proposing that we move that under, like with the other two budget adjustments. So this would actually be 6.2, and then we'll bump all the others down if that works for everybody. Okay. Any discussion on this? If not, we'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Okay, good, excellent. Thank you. That's carried. All right, so we'll move on now to the adoption of the previous minutes. Can I get a motion for that? Okay.
I move that we adopt the previous minutes as presented.
Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. Thank you.
Excuse me, Your Worship, did you actually approve the agenda? You approved adding this, but you didn't actually technically approve the agenda.
I did not. Moving back. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make the motion
Great, thank you.
to approve the agenda as amended.
Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried. Okay, so now we're going to move on. I'm just going to go back into my package here. So we're going to move into our budget adjustment discussions again, and we'll follow the same format that we did last time. We just have a couple of left. So the first one that we have here is budget motion 74A, online facility booking software. And Councillor Florence, I believe this is yours, so I'll just turn this over to you.
Okay, thank you. So I move that item 74A, online facility booking software, at an amount of $2,000 be included in the 2023 budget. So this aligns with our strategic plan because it is able to increase community engagement and meet people where they're at, whether that's in physical spaces or online spaces, which they would be able to do with this booking software, as well as providing Coalhurst residents with exceptional service and ensuring the town service levels meet community needs. The rationale is that the addition of this facility software booking in the 2023 budget is sensible and timely to allow facility users to be able to easily access and book facilities. It'll increase office efficiencies and free up valuable staff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'm good.
Is anybody in opposition to the motion? If not, I will call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Great, that's carried. Thank you. And I realized I did skip a motion, as I am doing a lot today. So we'll just go back to that one here, and then we'll move back down to the spring adjustments. So we just have a motion here. and I believe that this was in reference to the extraordinary meetings, just to rescind the motion that was made last meeting. Would anybody like to make this motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I move that council rescind motion number 7447-23 to postpone discussion on budget adjustment 11C extraordinary meeting to May 16th, 2023.
Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. So now we're jumping over to budget adjustment. We're gonna go to 11C because then we have Jesse's or Deputy Mayor's large one. Again, sorry, I'm making a mess of this. So this is from Councillor Ackerman's, the council meeting allowance extraordinary meetings. I'm just gonna turn that over to you, Councillor Ackerman.
Sure, I'm just pulling up the information here again. My motion was to set a budget for this council meetings allowance for extraordinary meetings for $1,250 to be included in the 2023 budget. My rationale behind that was I believe that this would allow everyone to attend one extraordinary meeting as a group or up to 5 individual ones. I don't believe that we've used extraordinary meeting budgets to this point this year, and if they are fairly common, I don't think they would fall under the extraordinary meeting category. I know there was discussion about what would be included in an extraordinary meeting, but I believe some of the things like the all council meetings would be included in our standard practice of being a councillor and representing the community and making those regional relationships.
Great. Any questions from Councillor Ackerman's or administration?
Again, if I could please, to either Councillor Ackerman or to administration, what comprises an extraordinary meeting? We don't appear to have a clear working definition right now.
I'm not beyond throwing bait to see if I get something here. Jeff and I briefly discussed it. So regular meetings are defined in your procedural bylaw. Anything not defined in your procedural bylaw would be considered extraordinary.
And in the council remuneration policy. Yeah.
So what would be an example of that?
If I may, Your Worship, through Your Worship to Your Worship. If I recall conversation at committee with Councillor Clarence and Councillor Ackermans, it was a consideration that the province is holding a one-day special meeting regarding the South Saskatchewan SSRP, and they requested a member of council attend. It's not something we planned for, it's not something we've scheduled for, it's not something a member of council has planned for. This would actually then be consideration a meeting such as that. The Director of Corporate Services actually brought up a very good point about this doesn't preclude. Do you want to just actually address that?
Sure. So, to council, there's always, council always has the option then to go to these meetings. What this provides, what this part of the policy provides for is whether that attendance is compensated or not. Part of when this policy was brought forward for review was a sense of frustration of having to ask council members having to ask council for permission to even attend an event or something like that. And so what this new policy or updated version of the remuneration policy was to free up council's table time at the meetings to not deal with what meetings you're attending, but rather dealing with the issues that need to be dealt with. So council members would always be able to go to whatever meeting they want to attend. Then this would just require a motion to allow for payment to a councillor for attendance at that meeting, and then that's up to the council member to determine whether that meeting or that event would fall under what's under the regular duties of council and under their regular duties, or if it falls outside of that, that would be up to the council members to determine.
So as the policy currently sits, there's a definition of what your regular work is, and basically it's everything that you're pointing to at the organizational meeting, it's the committees that you serve on, it's these meetings, it's committee of the whole meetings, it's attendance to public events. The extraordinary is what is not defined within that, and as the Director of Corporate Services identified, you're not precluded from attending. You come back to council with a motion to be compensated for it. And then it's up to council collectively to start creating that, what is an extraordinary meeting.
Thank you, thank you. And so I will go back, if I may, as I did our previous. We had a number that was set forward by our Director of Corporate Services of $2,500, and I don't know if that would be considered a friendly amendment to that motion with Councillor Atkins. And the rationale behind that would be that I would hate for us to be hampered in the work that we do, and of course that would align with our strategic plan, effective and informed governance. When you're speaking to this and stating that you haven't seen many, I believe I've been to 3 where I've been invited to the sort of the Alberta policing and emergency management discussions put forward by the government of Alberta. And so it seems under that definition that perhaps those might meet that criteria. And it's not saying that I want to run out and go take part in extraordinary meetings. I just am uncomfortable with the thought to cut that budget in half and hamper council from, you know, being fully involved in these kinds of meetings. And so I don't know if you would consider that to be a friendly amendment to take it back up to the suggested amount from our Director of Corporate Services.
Just point of order. You can amend the amendment, you don't have to make a friendly amendment.
I know, but I'm always friendly first. and then, because it really doesn't change the heart of the motion, it's a number, right?
I would want to keep it the same.
You'd want to keep it the same. Okay, then I would take the next step and request that I can amend that.
Okay, so in terms of process now, we actually go to the amendment, is that correct? Yes. Okay, so would you like to say anything beyond what you said already about your amendment?
I think I spoke about it already.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Councillor Caldwell or administration regarding the amendment up to $2,500, up to $2,500? Go ahead.
Thank you. Just a question through the mayor to Councillor Caldwell. Just in regards to the meetings with the provincial government, again, I do believe that falls within the scope of our duties as a municipal councillor to be advocating to all levels of government. So I would respectfully disagree with you on that point. And I think that there is a definition for extraordinary care in the policy as well as in what's not in our procedural bylaws. And I think that this is something that, as it comes back to council to request the reimbursement, that, you know, when we get to decide if if it fits within this, I think that would be the best way to go from there.
Yeah, and I thank you for that. And I think what you're pointing out is that we are going to have a period of interpretation and understanding what this is going to look like. Because I read the same documents, and my interpretation was, in fact, that we had been invited by the Alberta government to take part in discussions about what Alberta policing might look like, and I was invited to take part in an emergency management discussion. And so it sounded as though it sort of hit that criteria that our consultant CAO Kaufman had indicated. So I think it really just leads to my point that it's not really specific about that I would want to continue to go to these meetings, but that I just don't want us to be hampered in our ability to do our jobs while we're deciphering what this means, and spend some time having those discussions, interpreting them. And it's not a significant amount either way we look at it. It's just that it was a number put forward by our Director of Corporate Services, and I thought that was a good amount.
Anyone in opposition? Would anyone like to speak to this? Who's in opposition of the amendment? If not, is there anything else that you'd like to say, Councillor Caldwell?
No, thank you.
Okay. So then I'm going to call the question. Maybe we'll just get you to read out your motion again, so Deputy Mayor can know where we are.
Okay. So I make the motion that motion 11C, council meeting allowance for extraordinary meetings, be amended up to $2,500.
Great, we'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Opposed? The motion is carried. Okay, so back here now. Okay, so. Prepare this one.
We still have the other motion, so we have to approve.
Which
or
one?
Defeat, because that was just an amendment to the motion.
Okay, what am I doing?
We gotta go up to the one about it.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. This is not my day for running a
It's been
meeting.
warm, it's been warm today.
Okay,
So you have to actually now approve the main motion as amended.
okay.
The question is, does Councillor Ackerman still wish to sponsor it?
I can.
Okay, do you wanna read your?
Sure. Comfortable with that?
I move that 11C, council meeting allowance extraordinary meetings for $2,500 be included in the 2023 budget.
All right, there's no discussion on this. Well, I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Opposed? It's carried. Okay, now am I done with it? I think so, right? Okay, thanks guys. It's a team effort today. Okay, so now I'm going to just call for a recess, a motion for recess. Do we need a motion for that?
You can just go into recess.
We're going to recess, guys. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next item here, which is budget motion 2023 spring adjustments omnibus. And I'm going to pass this over to Deputy Mayor Potry.
Thank you, Mayor Montina. This motion reflects a few items in our when we were doing our budget deliberation that we weren't sure, I guess, who was going to be submitting them. So I had just submitted a motion to cover off all the items to make sure we had everything covered that we wanted. And so in this motion, so I move that adjustments 11A, updated electronic system cost of minus $2,000, 11E, council open houses for $3,000, and 11G, municipal development plan visioning session for $10,000, for a total of $11,000 adjustment and be included in the 2023 budget. And so just a little bit of background on each of these items. The 11A updated electronic agenda system is a small savings that we were realizing to align with the actual costs of the e-agenda purchase. And the item 11E is a reflection of the council's desire to be more involved with the community and having more open houses and more engagement processes. As we bring the public in, there are some costs to that, involved with if it's printing information packets or posters or advertising or whatever it is. We need some budget towards that item. And then the 11G, the MDP visioning session, we have as council been looking at trying to align our vision with some of the properties that we hold in the town, and where we really want to go with the future of Coalhurst, and trying to look at that in a way that that we can be strategic with where we put our resources and be all on the same page and working together on it. And we haven't had a chance to have those conversations yet. So we were looking, this budget line item would allow us to get a facilitator in, so that we could have those discussions and that expert with us at that time. And I think that's all I wanted to say on that.
Great, thank you. So again, just a reminder of this, I'm going to now just call if there's any questions for either Deputy Mayor Potry or administration, and then we'll move into the debate after that if there is one. So is there any questions? If there's no questions, I'm going to ask, is anybody opposed to the motion that's been presented? Okay, which sections are you opposed to?
11E, council open houses, and 11G, the MDP visioning session.
Okay, so we have 11A. Is anybody opposed to 11A? If not, I'm going to just call the question on.
In 1 second.
In a minute, I will.
Thank you.
Great. So as we pull this apart, so Deputy Mayor, I don't know if you can see the screen or not.
On YouTube, it takes a few extra seconds.
Oh, okay.
wait.
I can. Do you
Actually,
want to
no,
read
I
the
can't.
motion?
Never mind, I can't see your screen. Actually, I can just see you guys.
Okay, I'm just going to read the motion so that you're following along with us as well. So moved by Deputy Mayor Potry that adjustment 11A, updated electronic agenda system cost of minus $2,000 for reduction of $2,000 be included in the 2023 budget. There's no discussion on this. I will call the question. All in favor? That's
in favor.
Thank you. thank you. Okay, and so now we have the other two pieces here. So Councillor Florence had indicated, I'm just gonna go back here. We're just splitting these apart right now, Deputy Mayor. So the first motion that we have here is moved by Deputy Mayor Potry that adjustment 11E, council open house, $3,000. For $3,000 be included in the 2023 budget. Councillor Florence has indicated that she is in opposition to this. Before we move on to that, Deputy Mayor, is there anything that you'd like to say on this specific motion before we go into debate?
I think I already said it, so I don't know if I need to reiterate it again. But it's, yeah, I think you know, if we want to engage with the community, there's just going to be costs to it, right? So engagement takes effort and resources. So I think that we need to put resources behind it if we need if that's one of our goals, right? So.
Great, thank you. All right, Councillor Florence, would you like to speak to this?
Sure, thank you. So for the council open houses, we've had one this year and we're into the first quarter, done the first quarter, we're into May. And at our last meeting, I believe it was indicated that they cost around $300, give or take. And so putting a budget line for $3,000 if we have 4 a year would cost about $1,200 is a little bit high for my liking. As well, I feel that this small amount, this mere dollars, could be absorbed under cash flow or an advertising line. So I would like to see this, that's why I'm voting in opposition.
Great, thank you. Anyone in favor of this motion, would you like to speak on that?
I am in favor of this motion. However, I do respect Councillor Florence's thought process that perhaps we don't require as much funding, and I understand the rationale behind it in terms of when we have leftover funds, the frustration with where it goes into reserves afterwards. So I would be open to accepting a lower budget number for council open houses. I would again, though, however, want us to recognize the fact that we are going to be really fully embracing our municipal development plan. We're going to be aligning it with our strategic plan, and we do have a recreation master plan that we're going to be working on over the next year, and we really want to be able to have our community fully engaged in all of those steps and all of those processes. That's something that we have really, really stressed is active community engagement, being open, being accountable, speaking to our community on a regular basis. So if we can find a balance here so that we can ensure that we're able to have those open houses and you know, and do it in a cost-effective manner.
Anyone in opposition would like to speak?
So I guess just based on that, would you accept a friendly amendment to put it at $1,200?
Deputy Mayor?
I mean, I think this is the small amounts that we're arguing about is similar to the motion we just discussed recently with regard to the special meetings, I guess. And I think council open houses, we did have one and it didn't cost very much. But I think like Councillor Caldwell had mentioned, we do have some other ones upcoming that we know of we will need. And I know, like we had talked about potentially doing, you know, them in various different formats, like a coffee with council and stuff like that. And yeah, and I mean, maybe it could be cut down to less. It could be. This is a new line item, I guess. We don't have any experience with how much engagement funding we need. But I wouldn't want it to limit us based on that. And so yeah, and because I don't have any information, I don't believe like any of us do about how much is it going to cost. It's kind of a wild guess at this point. So I would be open to a lower amount potentially, but I'm also fine with it at this current level. So
I'd just like to speak to this. I think that, again, I agree with what you had said, Deputy Mayor, as well as Councillor Caldwell, regarding just wanting to be out in the community. And we also know that those boards right there are quite pricey. And so it depends on the type of engagement that we want to do. And so I think that leaving it at $3,000, getting a baseline established this year to see what it is, would be prudent in the situation. And then next year we can adjust accordingly based off of what that looks like. So I will be voting in favor of this motion. Is there any further discussion before I call the question? If not, I'm just going to read the motion again. So it's moved by Deputy Mayor Potry that adjustment 11E, council open house for $3,000, be included in the 2023 budget. I'm going to call all in favor.
In favor.
Opposed? The motion is carried. And then the last motion that we have here for the budget adjustments. So it's moved by Deputy Mayor Potry that adjustment 11G, MVP visioning session, for $10,000 be included in the 2023 budget. Deputy Mayor, is there anything that you would like to say before we move into questions on this item?
And some of this might come in my report later, but like I'm at the conference right now, and it's really interesting to hear about all the reasons why we should be looking at our MDP and our land use bylaw. Like I don't know if you saying an MDP visioning session is maybe the correct word, but really we're looking at like trying to bring economic and investment to our community. Really, it's about investment to our community. And so when we look at our MDP, what we want to do with various properties in town, and our land use bylaw, and kind of all those documents that work together, it's going to take some time. And talking to other communities here, they're saying, well, it's someone was just saying they did it for $100,000. They did this exercise, right? So I feel like $10,000 is maybe on the lighter side. So I think we're being quite efficient, really, with this this budget line item. I know we discussed using potentially that one consultant at this point. I don't know if we've made any commitments to them though at this point. So I'm open to, I guess, using these funds in another way as well. But it does require resources to try and align this and help bring more investment to our community and help protect the investment that we so many have already in our community, right? So that's everything.
Great, thank you. So just going to open it up for questions for Deputy Mayor or for administration. Go ahead, yes.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have something occur to me while I was sitting here, and I wish it occurred sooner. But this event, as I'm further understanding what it is, it does sound like a one-time event. As it is a one-time event, then it wouldn't necessarily need to be funded through taxation. It could be funded through a reserve or through the surplus that came from 2022. So it could be that could be a potential option for funding it.
Great, thank you.
So, sorry.
Yeah.
Because that would change the way I potentially vote on this. So it could be or it will be.
Depending on, through the mayor to Council Coalhurst, depending on how council wanted to put forward, it would depend on, it's a maybe. But if council wished to have it funded through other funds, then that could be a reality.
Great. So to have that happen, it should be reflected in the budget or in the motion then?
I believe so.
If I may,
Yes.
for process, Your Worship,
Yeah.
Council has had a conversation about doing this. This would be the instruction then actually to go ahead and fund it,
Okay.
whether it's through the budget, whether it's through one-time initiative as the Deputy or the Director of Corporate Services identified. It's up to Council at this point.
May I ask then if I could, for the process then, we would probably have this removed then from our budget discussion. We would request that this be removed and that we fund it from.
If I may, through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Caldwell, it would actually just be amended to, for $10,000, be funded through.
Either
MSI.
2022, the MSI operating has been allocated already, but 2022 surplus, or I would either recommend that or the subdivision reserve. We don't have an economic development reserve, but that would maybe be what was closely aligned with it as far as our reserves go. Either that or one or the other.
Deputy Mayor, did you hear all of that? Would you like to?
I did, and I think funding it through some kind of reserve. I don't know which one would be the best reserve to use, but I support that.
Would you like to friendly amend do a friendly amendment then?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a preference as to which reserve or?
I don't know which reserve would make the most sense. I don't have the information in front of me to.
I would recommend the using the 2022 surplus or the subdivision reserve. The subdivision reserve at the end of 2022 had $47,000 in it.
I was going to say, my preference would be for using the 2022 surplus, and then we can keep the reserve there. But I do see the benefit of having this session, and I like the fact that it would be funded through non-taxation. That really makes it a little bit easier for me to be in favor of this at this amount.
Deputy Mayor, would you agree to that friendly amendment through the 2022 reserve?
Yes, that makes sense.
Surplus, yeah.
It's not now, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'll just read this out here. So the amended motion is moved by Deputy Mayor Potry that adjustment 11G MVP fishing session for $10,000 to be funded through the 2022 surplus. Does anybody have any more questions on this motion? Is there anyone opposed to this? No? If not, I will.
Can I speak to it though?
Yeah. I'd like to.
Sorry, thank you. Just because I was going to vote against it, so I just want to explain a little bit of that, because putting it at $10,000 if it's coming from taxation was a lot. This visioning, it's not that I'm so opposed to it, it's that it costs a lot of money. While I agree there needs to be some visioning to get on the same page, it was a large budget item, in my opinion, for this year. And so to know that it would be able to not come from taxation, but to come from our surplus, is really reassuring, because following this, whatever comes from this MVP visioning, there might be some MVP changes potentially, or some operational plans that come out of this that will also cost money. So this could be a real a money trail, and so which would be good to do all those things that Deputy Mayor Portray was talking about, right? And to make investments in the right place. And so I'm really happy that this is not coming from taxation and instead coming from that 2022 surplus. And as it stands currently, we don't have any policies for what happens with our unreserved surpluses, but that's something that we're hoping to work on moving forward.
I thought it was quieter than that. I was just actually asking if it's surplus that actually been allocated yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, this is a conversation that's come up a few times for us during the budget deliberations.
Great, if there is no further discussion, I will call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. Excellent. Okay. So moving on now, we're going to move on now to prioritizing municipal input in future RCMP contract leasing decisions. And Deputy Mayor Potry, you put this forward, so I'm just going to turn this over to you.
Thank you, Mayor Montina. I'm just switching over to that page now. So this motion was brought forward by me. It really is a copy pasted motion that was brought to us by FCM in order to help protect us from the potential of downloading retroactive pay costs. Would you like me to read the entire resolution, Mayor Montina?
Yes, please.
Okay. I move that the following resolution be passed and the attached press release be issued. Whereas the Government of Alberta has made the decision in Budget 2023 to make municipalities responsible for all retroactive costs stemming from the latest RCMP collective bargaining agreement. And whereas these extraordinary one-time costs, which in some jurisdictions amount to millions of dollars, will cause significant hardship for communities and residents across the country, and were negotiated without meaningful consultation or a seat at the table for municipalities responsible for paying the bill. And whereas municipal governments are already paying a growing share of policing costs, but unlike other orders of government, cannot run deficits to spread out the impact of these extraordinary one-time sums and have limited revenue tools. And whereas local governments will now be forced to make difficult decisions that will impact residents, such as cutting essential services or reducing policing levels, raising property taxes significantly, or canceling work on local infrastructure, at a time when Canadians' concerns about community safety and the cost of living are already rising. And whereas going forward, it is critical that municipalities be proactively engaged in any forthcoming processes related to contract policing to prevent this occurring again. Therefore, be it resolved that the Town of Coalhurst joins the Federation of Canadian Municipalities in calling on the federal government to commit to ensuring that local governments are meaningfully consulted, fully informed, and at the table on issues related to the policing costs, given the municipal role in keeping our communities safer. And be it further resolved that the Town of Coalhurst conveys this support in writing to local members of Parliament.
Great, thank you. Would you like to speak to it any more?
No, well, not particularly. I think we all know this issue very well, so.
Great. All right. Is there any discussion on this? Go ahead, Councillor Atkins.
Thank you. To Deputy Mayor Coalhurst, I guess just a comment on this. You talk about an attached press release to be issued, but there's no press release attached to the agenda. I'm just curious, is that the one that FCM had drafted for the town's response? Okay.
That is the one, and it was attached in the when I submitted it, so I'm not sure what happened to it.
Your worship, through to Deputy Mayor Pottery and Councillor Ackermans, yes, there was actually one attached, and in the format of FCM press releases, there's a space that says insert council members' comments here. We didn't have any quote yet from Deputy Mayor Pottery. We're going to have great material from debate this evening for him to be citing him. We'll can circulate the press release to members of council when it's ready to go.
Councillor Florence?
Thank you. I'm happy to see that this motion brought forward. I think it's important to note that as a community under $5,000 receiving our CMP services under the PPSA agreement, so the Provincial Police Service Agreement, that the government has verbally agreed to not pass those retroactive salary cap costs on to us. So I think this is an important area to continue to advocate for going forward, and to definitely keep a thumb on, as this is a big issue. And I'm glad that we didn't get stuck with that retroactive bill for now.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. All right. So we're going to move on to administrative reports. The first that we have here is the capture program. And so we did receive some updated information, and I believe, Councillor Ackermans, I believe that you brought this forward. And so, based off the information here, is there any questions for administration or action that we'd like to take from this point in time? Go ahead, Councillor Ackermans.
Thank you. I appreciate all the information being put together from administration. When we had the all councils meeting in Pitcherview last week, one of the things that I did talk to some of the other councillors about afterwards was the capture program, and it sounded like there might be interest from outside of just our community. So with that, I would like to go with the proposed option. I believe it's 2, where we I move to that council instruct the CAO to contact all CAOs within the Coaldale RCMP detachment area, advising Coalhurst's desire to create a capture detachment map and request participation in and sharing annual costs for the capture program. I further move that the CAO report back to council of regional participation in the capture program by June 30th, 2023. And if I may just speak to that, one of the things that I really like about this program is when we had the open house with the RCMP, it sounded like a lot of the residents had buy-in for it. When I speak to the public about this, they see it as a good idea. I understand that there's a cost associated with this, so if we can split this cost between other municipalities in the region, that would be great. Although if that's not possible, I still think that this is something that we should look towards doing, as this will help. As you know, on Facebook and other social media, there's constantly posts about crime in our community. So even if it's a small thing that helps once or twice, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. You have, that should be Councillor Axman's. On your motion there. Excellent, thank you.
I haven't met you all yet.
It's only been 6 months.
Yeah.
All right, is there any further discussion on this motion that Councillor Ackerman has put forward? Go ahead.
Thank you. So just reading the report here, this report is written as an update, not a request for decision. And given that it is a lot to consider, I am actually not ready to support this motion to go this direction at this time. I think we need to do a little bit of digging and talking to the other communities beyond just a basic meet and greet and really get a feel for it. I think that it's interesting to have the cost share, but it would also be then sharing the program as well. So I think that it would be worth exploring whether it's something we do on our own or whether we steward the process for the entire detachment. But at this point, I would say I think that I'm not ready to move on this at this point.
If there's anyone in support of the motion, would you like to speak? Anyone opposed like to speak? Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm in agreement. I think that this will be a great program. I would like to be able to have some good, sort of continue the conversations with our local RCMP detachments and try to understand why we're not, why this isn't sort of a part of the services that they provide to us and why there is such a cost associated with it. But just to explore it a little further and as well engage the interest of our neighboring communities as well. And my hope is that once we've done this, that we'll have a really solid plan to move forward with it, where we're just not putting up money.
Sorry, could you clarify which motion we're talking about? Which option?
So the motion, this is the motion that Councillor Ackerman's made. So it's Councillor Ackerman moves that the council instruct the CAO to contact all CAOs within the Coaldale RCMP detachment area, advising Coalhurst's desire to create a capture detachment map and request participation in and sharing annual costs for the capture program. And further moves that the CAO report back to council of regional participation in the capture program by June 30th, 2023.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Would you like to speak to this at all, Deputy Mayor? If not.
Well, I'm sorry. I just wasn't sure which option we're looking at the moment, but I do have some thoughts on this. I do like the ability for us to be able to enable our residents to help contribute to stopping crime, I guess, and I think as per Heather's or Councillor Caldwell's inquiry, I believe the RCMP said that they are unable to collect this information, which is why it has to be an arm's length. It's against they can only collect it if there's probable cause, I believe, right? So by having it as an arm's length system, it lets them do it only when there's an incident, right? So or something like that. There was some kind of reasoning like that. So I think it is a system that will help, and I do believe that cost sharing would be preferable, of course, and so I like option 2.
Councillor Caldwell, would you like to clarify anything?
Well, I would if I could, then please. I guess maybe it's about the information that's coming forward to us then, because as I read this, it sounds as though there's a successful program being run with other detachments, and so it makes me ask why we're not able to do it through our own detachment. And so that was my initial take on this. So if we had, a good package put together that sort of stated this is how it could work and this is how we partner with our detachment, these are the barriers and these are how we address the barriers, And then we can sort of have those conversations with other communities. So that, because as I said earlier, I've been excited by the thought of this program since Councillor Ackerman brought it forward. And so just getting some really good solid information to move forward with.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Flores.
I just wanted to ask a question, I'm not sure through to who, but in regards to maybe like a committee taking on this work, would it be appropriate to maybe send this to the intermunicipal committee to do some further digging as an agenda item for something coming up to really get a feel for it and do some more of the legwork?
Comments on that from anybody?
My thoughts are, if that makes council feel better about it, I think that it wouldn't hurt to have regional conversations. I think that just reading through this, like even if we were to institute this on our own, it's like anyone in the region can sign up. But I know like crime doesn't just stop at the outside of our town, so if we have people in the region, you know, it's benefiting the region as a whole. So I would like to see I would like to see that regional buy-in, and maybe that's a good way to approach it using the intermunicipal committee. It gives us another chance to reach out with our neighbors and make those connections and work towards common goals. So I would be for that.
Great, thank you. I just wanted to say with this, I appreciate the information that's being brought forward, but I think that I too would like to kind of see a little bit more discussion with our community and just kind of doing a little bit more research into it. I think that there's a lot of potential with this, but I'm not sure that we're quite there yet to fully go into implementation at this point. So I will be voting against this motion as it stands right now. Is there any further discussion?
Just if I can, Your Worship, question of process. Councillor Ackermans, did you want to withdraw the motion?
Would it be possible to amend it to push it to an intermunicipal committee meeting? Or how does council feel on that? Because I'm all right with withdrawing it, but I just want to make sure that this would move forward in one way or another.
We could table it to a specific date with more information. Could we? Or?
You could. It depends really on what council is looking for. You have the second motion here as well. The council received the update and options for capture program. You could actually make a recommendation there. Then instead of amending what you presented, make any additional recommendations or requests with that second motion.
So you could recommend that you go to a committee.
Okay, yeah, I'll withdraw that. Okay.
You'll withdraw?
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's all right with everyone.
Yeah, so Deputy Mayor, just to let you know, Councillor Ackermans has withdrawn his current motion.
Okay.
Councillor Ackermans, did you want to make the next motion then, with that recommendation in there?
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
And I think just for clarity, it wouldn't be my motion because it would be everyone's at this point because I brought it forward.
Yeah, if
So
if you'd like to make the motion though.
Yeah. I move that council receive the update and options for the capture program report as information and refer this to the intermunicipal committee? I'm trying to think of the name of it.
There's an intermunicipal and there's intermunicipal of Orange County. So there's two
Okay.
intermunicipal.
Probably intermunicipal, because that'd be bigger, right?
Yeah, intermunicipal committee.
Great, thank you.
Do you want me to read that one more time?
Sure, read it so that
Okay.
Deputy Mayor can hear you.
Yeah. I move that council receive the update and options for the capture program report as information and further be it resolved that the matter be forwarded to the intermunicipal committee.
Any discussion on this? Seeing none, I will call the question. All in favor?
In favor?
That's carried. All right, the next one that we have on here, this came from Deputy Mayor Potry, an inquiry into the drinking fountain water bottle filling station at the community center. Is there any questions or action that we'd like to take from the report that's been given?
If I may, Your Worship, the action to be taken is operations is going to be scoping that out, and it looks like it could be a part of the 2023 maintenance plan. So it's an operational consideration that we brought forward and addressed. Director of Operations recognizes the benefits of doing it.
Excellent, thank you. So along with that then, if there's no further questions, Deputy Mayor, or did you have a question?
I do,
Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
If I can ask a question through to the CAOs. So the CAO, sorry, it's supposed to be fun. But so with the maintenance plans, not to get into the weeds or anything, but with like how do those plans come about? Is it like if there's electrical issues or an identified water thing, it's like if that fits into the budget, we'll do it, or is there specific plans that get drawn up each year?
If you've got a great answer for this, take it. If not, I'll certainly bring it. Typically, there's not a formal plan. The staff will typically identify issues that need to be rectified within the budget year. And some of those priorities are a little loose and can be adjusted or as required. So in this particular case, our operations manager would have the budget for community hall maintenance, and unless there's something pressing, could utilize those funds to deal with this particular issue.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor, would you like to make a motion to receive the report for information since you submitted this?
Yes, I move that we receive this report for information.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? That's
In
carried.
favor.
Oh, thank you. I get ahead of myself. Okay, the next one we have here is the spray park resurfacing, and Councillor Ackerman, this did come from you, and we have received additional information on that. Is there any questions or anything on this item?
I just want to say thank you for administration for providing the information, and just so the public's aware, it sounds like they were starting to strip and remove the old surface, and then in a week or so, weather permitting, they're probably going to put the rubber-like compound on the floor there, which will improve user safety and reduce potential scratches and scrapes from a fall. I know that this was a issue that came up last year, and there was lots of comments about it, so I'm happy to see this being rectified. And I appreciate the fact that it's at no cost to the town, and the builder is going through and doing that for us.
Thank you. Would you like to make a motion to accept this for information?
Yep, I move to accept the spray park resurfacing report as information.
Any further discussion? None, I'll call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
Great, that's carried, thank you. And moving on to the April CAO report, is there any questions from council or anything that administration would like to highlight in particular?
He sets the bar very high for that. I already
Recommended?
thank you. I had another word in mind that we discussed this. No, it's a very good report. Typically mine are a little shorter, more concise, but I appreciate the work he's put into that. It was excellent. Well done.
We have received, actually, I've had quite a few comments in the community too, because this is a report you put directly into does it go right into the newsletter?
Your worship, most of it does.
Yeah.
There is some editing for
Okay.
length.
Yeah.
As I said to CAO patients, I come from the philosophy if you can say it, why say it in 10 words when you can say it in 30? So you tend to get a bit more verbosity, and there's some issues that don't necessarily make it to the newsletter that are just council specific. So, but this is the draft for sure.
Excellent, yeah. I've had tons of people say that they so appreciate these and just having an understanding of what's happening in the community. So thank you for this really great report.
The community will appreciate CAO patients' brevity.
It's not that
There we go.
much more brief, but slightly maybe more brief.
Great. Is there any other questions on this? If not, can we get a motion to accept or to receive the CAO report as information? Sure.
I move that we receive this April CAO report as information.
Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to move on to councillor reports. And I know last time it was in order, so I don't know if you guys have an order established already. Councillor Caldwell, it's you.
I will start, thank you. So first I wanted to give recognition to the hard work of members of the Recreation and Culture Committee for the successful volunteer appreciation event on Saturday, April the 29th. That was a fantastic event and people really appreciated that. I also add recognition to my fellow council members that came out and made people feel good. Meetings and events attended, Green Acres Foundation board meeting, the final training on the EOEP, Alberta Communities Land Use and Bylaw training, and 2023 budget deliberations. I didn't identify upcoming meetings and events. I did, however, I see you've got that in front of you. At the event on the 29th, I had an opportunity to have a really good discussion with members of the Plus 55 Club. They brought forward some concerns about their shrinking membership. And they discussed the fact that members have typically volunteered to support others in lieu of any formal programming available here. For example, some things were assistance with transportation. We had one member that would do meal preparation and delivery for other individuals at the Plus 55 Club. And I have to say that this is being done by someone that's living on a senior's income. And they are feeling increasing pressure on fewer numbers to continue to care for the seniors in our community. Their numbers do not represent the number of seniors that our demographics suggest. And the question comes up, are there seniors that are isolating in their homes in our community? I know the work that I do with Green Acres Foundation, that is one of the concerns that we sort of identify that since COVID, we have some concerns that there are seniors that are continuing to isolate. I believe that we may have the same concern in our community. And the third item that we discussed, that they are having an upcoming open house to attempt to reach more seniors in our community. I would love to have the opportunity to invite members of their executive to meet at a future committee of the whole meeting to discuss these above issues with them and look at, where are the gaps? What can we support with? What is our role? What is their role? Those kinds of conversations. And how do we get involved with their open house? And so out of that, I did have a recommendation that we do that, but I will put that in a formal motion down the road. Yeah. I also just want to bring to everybody's attention, I don't know if you guys read the Calgary Herald, but there was an article in the Calgary Herald about the Green Acres Foundation. So through the funding from our annual golf course and the Picture Butte Lions Club, as well as Lethbridge Community Foundation, they were able to buy these tandem electric bikes. And so there was a 102-year-old woman going for her first bike ride in 40 years. 40 years, so just picture this with the police chief of Lethbridge. So they had to put that in the Calgary Herald, and I thought that was just the coolest thing I'd ever seen, so I wanted to share that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's it for my reports. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. See what other ones, has anyone else been added on? House recommends.
Sure, thank you. With recognitions, I'd like to recognize Sienna Deedle. She was helping with the Rec and Culture put on that volunteer appreciation event. I know that others had helped her, but I know she was working quite a bit there.
She was the driver, for sure.
Yeah. So I'd like to recognize everyone that helped put that event on, along with all of the volunteers in our community. I think all the small steps make this community a great place to live. For meetings and attendance attended on the 19th and 26th, there was the EOEP Land Use and Development Approvals Court sessions. We had really good discussion on the roles of council in the public land use planning process. Also looked at statutory and non-statutory plans, land use bylaw, land use applications, which spoke on redesignation of land, subdivision, evaluating development proposals and briefly touched on the appeal process, so I thought that was kind of informative as we're looking at land use bylaw adjustments, and with that development permit for that cell tower, I thought it was kind of relevant in timing. On the 24th, I had the South Row executive meeting online, so we discussed the operational plan for the year. We put that forward to the full board, which was approved on April 25th, which was last Tuesday. I attached a copy of the report if anyone was curious. It does list it as draft, however, it was finalized by the board last week. And with that too, we also discussed forming a policy review committee with the executive committee. So we have 2 members of the executive committee, myself and Lori Wickman from Vulcan County on the committee, and an individual from Niku Yuko Gardens, who is a South Row associate member, and then I'll be chairing that committee for the policy review there. And then we had a special meeting in council for the budget adjustments last week, which I thought was great. We had the all council meet and greet and contribute. I thought it was a great opportunity to meet the local elected officials and just get to know one another there. And then we had our special meeting yesterday morning. Upcoming meetings would be policy bylaw review. And then just for the other updates, just talks about that operational plan if anyone's curious to check it out. One of the things that I did bring forward with the operational plan for South Row was I wanted to include almost like a matchmaking service for municipalities within the South Row region. So there's going to be a survey sent out to the CAOs talking about economic development priorities for the communities. And then what they're going to do is they're going to connect the dots and say, these communities are working on this together, so let's just try and put that in touch and kind of create some of those regional networks that we might not totally notice. And then I think there would be kind of a summary of just saying these are some of the projects in the area. So I thought that that was something that I could bring forward to the plan that would help our town out along with other ones.
Great, thank you. All right, let's see who's next.
Can I ask a question?
Of course you can.
So with the South Row, with the matchmaking, isn't that kind of essentially what South Row's role is anyway, to kind of connect all the region, or the different municipalities within the region? Or will this be more specific to projects?
So South Row is more of a regional approach for things, so it's looking at regional wins versus individual community level projects. So this is just kind of taking those community level projects and kind of creating the network connections there. Like when you're looking at some of the other projects that they have on the go right now, they're doing like the zero emission vehicle infrastructure projects, so they get all the funding for that, and they're getting solar chargers for, or I guess electric chargers for electric vehicles in the area. You know, they're doing some marketing for the agri-food hub down, or not the agri-food hub, the agri-food corridor down this way. You know, so it's more regional versus individual municipalities, but this is something that would be more beneficial to the individual municipalities versus just a regional wide net approach.
Interesting. Thank you.
Great. It's your turn now.
Thank you. Okay, so for my report, I just wanted to give a big thank you to the Public Works team for the excellent job cleaning up the fields at Miners Park and getting them ready for the busy season, soccer and all things summer. As mentioned, we had our special meeting of council for the spring budget adjustments on May 25th, and that ended tonight. On May 26th, we had the inter-council meeting with neighboring municipalities. So we had Pictou, Barretts, Nobleford, Lethbridge County, and Coalhurst. I think it's really important to get together with our neighboring municipalities because we share a lot of the same concerns, especially when it comes to things like water, policing, community safety, even things like garbage and recycling. And so be able to look at solutions regionally and be able to leverage that within our region with the other municipalities it's really interesting. And of course we have our emergency management plan that we'll be looking at regionally as well, that Pictou is doing. So it was a really good meeting. And then on May 1st we had the special netting, that's a spelling error, to do the CAO appointment. Coming up, of course, the Policy Bylaw Risk Review Committee, which is always a really good committee meeting because we really get into the meat and potatoes of stuff that comes to get sent there and then comes back to council. And then we have our next regular meeting of council on May 16th. And that's it, thank you.
All right, so for my update, I I just want to start with recognitions and to congratulate the Legion number 273 on hosting the Spring District Rally, Spring District 6 Rally that they held on the 22nd. So I was able to attend that and bring greetings on behalf of the town of Coalhurst. And a really, really great event. It was nice to see all of the different people there that were coming together to learn from each other. The other thing that I wanted to just have a recognition is to thank Jeff Kaufman for his leadership over the course of his interim appointment as CAO. Started as 2 months, ended up 6 months. It's great. And then again, to welcome Sean to our community and really looking forward to working with him. The meetings and events that I attended the past 2 weeks or however long this has been have been a little bit more of getting out into the community, which has actually been really nice. And so going to the Legion District 6 rally, then we had just our agenda setting meeting, budget adjustments, our inter-council meet and greet, which was really nice to be able to meet people from across the region. And then the volunteer appreciation event, which happened this past weekend, was an excellent opportunity to connect with different people that are volunteering in our community. And I would like to, again, with that, thank the organizers for that committee, or for that event, but also echo what Councillor Caldwell said about the seniors in the 55 Plus Club, and looking at having more of a conversation with them around what are their needs within the community, and looking at that senior base to see what it is what they would like to see happening. So I look forward to that. The one thing I did forget for our meeting was obviously our special meeting yesterday too, where we appointed our CAO. My upcoming meetings that I have, I just did the next 2 weeks. I'm headed up to Edmonton on Thursday for Alberta Municipalities Safe and Healthy Communities Committee. So I'm looking forward to that. And then on the 8th, we've got our agenda setting committee. And that's all. Deputy Mayor Potry, did you have a report that you would like?
Yeah.
To speak to? Sure.
Yeah. So with the conference, it's been a bit hectic trying to get it out. I've been busy all weekend and everything, but I have it mostly done now.
All right.
Yeah. So recognitions, I think everyone's covered. Who I wanted to mention, I definitely wanted to thank our interim CAO Jeff Kaufman for his excellent work in supporting and leading the town through a period of intense transition and doing it with grace and expertise. And then also recognize Sienna Deedle and the Recreation and Culture Committee for the organizing the volunteer appreciation event. Of course, I wasn't able to be there. And I want to recognize all volunteers in our town for all they do, even if it's small. So meetings and events attended on the April 20th. I attended the Coaldale Fortis Buildings their net zero building. It's their operations building grand opening. That was a really interesting project to see. It was of course Fortis provides electrical services to many municipalities and houses around here. And their building was all electric. They didn't have any gas furnaces. So I was able to get a tour of from the one of the managers there, and they of course shared a lot of information about their building and their commitment to improving the efficiency of buildings to be able to reduce costs, of course, for operating, and of course the impact on the environment. And yeah, so it was really just like a big big kind of bay with a bunch of kind of like our fire hall, really, I guess. It was almost the exact same size as our fire hall. They had a bunch of bays with trucks they would send out to work on power lines and stuff. So that was kind of an interesting event. Part of that was the Waterton Battery project, which I didn't know anything about. But there was what they shared with me was that it is a backup battery for Waterton National Park. Apparently, they had a lot of power outages out there, like something like 120 power outages a year. in Waterton until they put these solar panels in and batteries. So it's kind of an interesting project. I guess as a utility company, they weren't able to own it, so they donated it. They got a grant for it, and then they donated it to Parks Canada. So it's kind of an interesting solution for a remote location. On April 20th, I attended the Recreation and Culture Committee. We brought a couple things that came out of that meeting was the bottle fill inquiry, and I'm grateful for administration for looking at that. And then we also we talked about looking at a days of recognition policy. So some way to codify, I guess, or document the days that we find important in our town and how we should recognize them, right? So I think we have a lot of it just kind of in our practice, but it's not really well documented. And if someone else, if there's another significant day in the community and that we should be recognizing that we're not, we wanted to provide an opportunity for or at least start looking at a policy so that anyone in the community could bring these forward, if there was a significant day that they're looking at. Agenda setting committee on the 24th, and then the special meeting on the 25th where we talked about the budget. On the 26th, of course, we had the intercouncil meet and greet, which was already spoken about. It's great to look at things in a regional perspective, like waste collection, water, sewage, and staffing. Sharing in the region is going to save everybody money and help us deliver better services to our communities. And then the reason I'm away, of course, is because I'm at the CPAA conference right now, the Community Planning Association of Alberta. And there's some really, really interesting things that I've been learning. I can share some of them right now. There's a lot of things, but I'll share some of the highlights, I guess, for now. They still have one more day tomorrow. One of the things that I found was interesting is that we had one of the developers speaking about how developers will look at communities just by their website, their policies, their bylaws, and they won't even come to the town to ask us, can we do this? Because it's more work for them if they just find a community that has the things that they want, a simple way to do business, and a clear vision. Then they will just go there. They won't even talk to the communities who don't have that kind of thing, right? So I think the way we've been going with approaching with looking at upgrading our website and our policies and everything, bylaws and MDP is the right approach to help attract investment to our community through developers. There's a question, like I know a lot of times in our as we do developments, we're like, well, what is, we all try and do things in the public interest, and one of the speakers talked about, well, what is the public interest? Like sometimes we get stuck on the vocal people, but maybe that's not representative, right? We have a lot of diversity in our communities, so it's good to always tune in to the majority, I guess. Yeah, a lot of other things. Maybe I won't do it all right now, but another interesting thing was less zoning is better. Like the less zones you can have is better. They shared some communities, they had like 30 zones and they went down to like 6 zones. And the reasoning is because it gives more certainty to developers and citizens too. It just makes everything easier for people to build and develop their community. Funny enough, we were talking about, I think at one of our committee of the wholes, about having a requirement for 2 parking stalls per house, right? Off-street parking stalls per house. And I guess Edmonton doesn't even have any requirements for off-street parking in residential. And the reason is because it's restrictive to the development, it increases the cost of it as well. So Edmonton's doing fine, I guess. So anyway, that was an interesting thing. And then there was a really good push, I guess, to get information, good information, like, and then publish it so that everyone can see it. So for example, like if we know that Coalhurst, we only have a 5-minute commute to the west side of Lethbridge, it's kind of like the way South Grow markets their the advantages of our region. It's almost like we need to take those and market them as the advantages of Coalhurst, right? And and do the work so that you can say like, oh yeah, like if you want to build in Lethbridge, it's going to cost you this. It's going to, the taxes are this, and compared to Coalhurst, whereas this, and kind of sell our advantage really, in a short, digestible format, really helps to work with businesses and attract investment.
Well, sounds
And
like you're
then,
having a good time there.
yeah. So those are some of the highlights. Been a busy week, but next week is a little quieter for me. Upcoming meetings and events. I just have a couple meetings: the agenda setting committee and then ORSC executive. So
Well, we look forward to hearing more about all the awesome things you're learning about when you get back.
absolutely.
That's great. Is there anything else from your report?
That's all for now.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so from this, we have no correspondence? Okay. Okay, so with that, thank you for your reports. Looks like there's lots of things happening. And so just moving into a closed session now. So can we get a motion to go into closed session? Go ahead.
I move that council moves into closed session at 7:23 p.m.
Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor?
In favor.
That's carried. right, Councillor Caldwell, are you making a motion to go back into open session?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to go back into open session at 8:02 PM, please.
Right.
Do I continue in that motion then?
I believe
Is that a separate
that
motion?
we do two separate motions. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question, all in favor?
In favor?
Great, that's carried. And
I'll
then,
make the following
Sure.
motion just for kicks and giggles, thank you. The council direct the closed meeting documents and discussions with respect to item 11.1, land matter, remain confidential pursuant to section 23, local body confidence, and 24, advice from officials of the Freedom of Information Protection and Privacy Act.
great, any discussion? Call the question, all in favor?
In favor?
That's carried. And then finally, a motion to adjourn. Okay,
I move that council adjourn the regular meeting of council at 8:03 PM.
any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That's
In favor?
carried.